All right, so first things first, congratulations on the film. I'm so happy for you that it's finding sort of this success and recognition already. It deals with some very sort of personal, sort of vulnerable topics. And I guess my first question to you was when constructing the story and sort of building the world, what was it like sort of re-entering that adolescent headspace and sort of looking at it from the perspective of sort of now being an adult?
It was actually kind of a thrilling experience because I think I just have never had memories flood back in such an intense way. But even though there's, a lot of elements about being 12, I think were really stressful and intense. Having a little bit of that distance from it made it feel a little bit safer. And there was something kind of, I don't know if nostalgic's the right word because I think, like many people I've seen say something along the lines of like, you couldn't pay me to be 13 again. I feel like
Hmm.
that should have been almost like our like, log line or something.
Yeah,
But I did just feel like I was remembering all these people and these places and, things that we would say and things we would joke about. And there was just something very I don't know, like exciting and overwhelming about reliving that and experiencing that.
certainly, certainly. Speaking of the nostalgia of it, the film is a period piece of sorts. Was there something specific about the early 2000s that felt like the right place for it?
Only just that I was, this age in that time. So I think that was, I just felt like I had to make it about a time that I knew what it's like to be 13 during.
That makes sense. You talk about having some distance from the experiences in the film. One thing, or one group of people that don't necessarily have that distance is your main cast. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like to sort of build a working atmosphere that let them sort of go to that vulnerable place while still being comfortable in themselves?
Yeah, I think it was just about everyone feeling really comfortable and like safe around each other. So we would do a lot of really kind of like goofy exercises. We'd rehearse, but it was a lot less sort of like sitting around a table and more like um, like going around the room and just sort of like creating sort of a vibe of summer camp and like taking turns kind of playing different characters and being kind of embarrassing ourselves. We all took turns being Eli and being laughed at. And I think just starting to kind of like break the ice and build that trust that like we're all kind of here performing. It's a silly thing to make a movie and to act and to, and that made it feel kind of more like a safe space to take risks and to do some of the more like intense scenes or the vulnerable scenes and to know that it's always good to just like to just try something and there's no kind of wrong approach and we can always do another take. We can always keep exploring the scene. And so from there, I think that, they just really got into it and it was like they were constantly bringing things to the table. They would be the ones who might want to push it even further and had all kinds of ideas. And it was like working with any actors of any age.
Yeah, that's wonderful. One of the more seasoned members of your cast is Joe Ledgerton, who also serves as a producer on the film. Can you talk a little bit about what it meant for the production to sort of have his involvement and sort of what that sort of added to the process overall?
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, I think, for one, I don't know how we would have ever gotten the film made without his involvement, but in addition to that, I think he was really like a perfect person to play this role and able to bring something to it that wasn't trying to make it too silly or too cute, but also bringing some genuine kind of warmth to it, even though he's a pretty like ineffective coach. I think that there was sincerity in how he performed it, and I think it just to me it feels really accurate to what those coaches are like, and I don't actually see that represented that way that much, and it just he just nailed it, which is pretty amazing to me because obviously I'm sure he had coaches like this, but not the ones in America. And it really
Mhm.
felt to me like these like very particular American guy at a camp like this. So I thought he was awesome and it was a joy to work with him as an actor. But even as a producer, is sort of like, because he's a director and a writer as well, he was able to be kind of a mentor and just like a friend. And to be able to send him audition tapes and cuts and ideas of scenes and just be able to bounce ideas with him it was really nice to have that collaboration the whole way through.
Oh, I love that. The film has a really particular look with it, thanks to the 35 millimeter cinematography, which shouldn't be something that we have to highlight as feeling rare in film now, but it is something that does kind of make the film stand out. Can you talk about what those conversations were like and whether there was any back and forth about what format you might use?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sort of like shamelessly obsessed with the way that film looks. I think it's the more that I've gotten an opportunity to shoot on it, the more I've sort of like become obsessed with it and watching other movies and photography and seeing all the different stocks. And I think it's just there's something magical about the way that the colors look. And the process of it too, of you have this finite resource, you're not really seeing what you're shooting that well, so you have to kind of get a sense of it, and then there's this leap of faith, and you're focused more on the actual performers in the real room. Like everything about that, I think, is just feels really magical and brings everyone closer together. And yeah, I mean, I had shot on film with Steven, our DP, before, and we had felt like we have to try to make it work on this one, and just sort of made it a priority to make it happen.
Mhm. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, you've got no shortage of sort of new projects lined up. According to the notes your publicist sent, you're working on both Mask of the Red Death and a new Bratz movie, so nobody can ever pin you down as doing just one thing. Can you talk a little bit about lessons that were learned during the making of The Plague and what you're sort of bringing into these new projects or any new perspectives that you might have about the overall filmmaking process?
Yeah, I think just that, just to try to, keep the vision of sort of the initial thing that's exciting alive. Because so many of the other elements around it are changing nonstop all the way through, and a lot of things are different than you initially imagined, but trying to just remember like this is the thing that got me excited about it. This is why I felt like I have to make this. And I just sort of almost sort of like pin that in my, bedroom and just remind myself every morning, like, this is the thing that is making me excited about this. And yeah, and it's interesting how that fire does stay alive through the entire process. And that, for this movie, it was so much about capturing something that felt really real about being 12 or 13 and getting that lightning in a bottle of these performances and the right actors and making it, and capturing that. And so that was sort of the thing I wanted from the script phase. And even in the edit, we were sort of figuring out all kinds of things and pacing. It was like, if I could just sit there and look at the dailies and look at the performances, I felt excited again. I was remembering how great that they were. And then we had something really exciting on our hands. And so I think with every project, trying to just find what that thing is that I can hold on to as you're going through the kind of, you know, often years long journey of, you know, getting something made, having to deal with the realities of the budgets and timelines and a million other things that make it challenging to, realize something to completion.
Absolutely. And then lastly, the critical reception to the film has been deservedly incredibly positive. Is there any aspect of the film, whether it be the performances or a technical thing or the way people are responding to some of the themes, is there any one aspect of it that you feel the most proud is sort of rising to the surface in these reactions?
I mean, I think no doubt it's the celebration of the actors and the young actors, and I think that they I agree with everyone that they are incredible and that I don't think it's just like where do we find them? I think they also worked incredibly hard and they built these characters and they built these performances, and so um, to see them get that recognition, that's been I'm incredibly excited for them. I think it's completely deserved.
Wonderful. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. Again, congratulations on the film. We're rooting for you at DGA, and best of luck with everything that is still to come.
Cool, thank you.
My pleasure.